Hey Bookaholics, so welcome back to another video. Today I am bringing you a dedicated series review of the Regency Fairy Tales by Olivia Atwater. The Regency Fairy Tales is a series of companion fantasy romance novels that were originally self-published and have since been picked up by Orbit. The trilogy consists of Half a Soul, 10,000 Stitches, and Long Shadow. In the first book, Half a Soul, we are following Theodora, or Dora, who is the daughter of the previous Lord Lockheed. Her family have since passed away and she is now in the care of her uncle, who is the new Lord Lockheed. And she is very close with her cousin and is being mostly raised by her aunt. One day she goes out into the forest and encounters a fae who proclaims that they are entitled to her soul. As they begin to take her soul, she is in fact saved by her cousin Vanessa, and therefore the fae only manages to get half of her soul. Now the London season is upon them a few years later, and it is time for Vanessa, her cousin, to come out to the world and therefore find herself a husband. Everyone being a little bit concerned about Theodora though, since she no longer feels things the way she should, including things like embarrassment, and therefore she can prove to be an embarrassment to the family. The family want to marry her off as soon as possible so she is no longer their problem. They want to find a very good match for Vanessa, and Vanessa herself would like to get in contact with the Lord Sorcerer, who is the primary magician to the king, to see if there is a way he can retrieve Theodora's soul. While they are in London, they happen to encounter the Lord Sorcerer, who is currently undertaking an investigation into this sickness that seems to be taking over children in workhouses, where they seem to be entering into a state of sleep and will not awaken. And that is the premise of the story. It is a romance, so we do have it's not enemies to lovers, it's more people who are both very abrupt, having to learn to soften to each other. It's a bit Pride and Prejudice in that sense. They're never enemies, they just don't regard each other very well, and they eventually learn to soften to each other. That's the kind of romantic trope that there is in here. I loved this book so much. I love Dora, I love all of the relationships. Vanessa reminds me of Lottie from Princess and the Frog. Dora being the way she is, having this really strong personality, and her not fitting in to society worked really well for me, because it's not done in the sense of like, oh, Dora, if she was just a bit less clumsy, or she was just a bit less, it's literally done as, why is society not more accommodating to Dora, not the other way round? And I really appreciated that, and just so many people in this being really awesome human beings, while it's still having very much a takedown of classes and a confrontation about what is wrong with such a class divide as we had in the Regency era, is tackled really well. The second book, 10,000 Stitches, is a somewhat Cinderella retelling. The author in the author's notes actually says that one of the things that she didn't like about Cinderella as a child is that when you are reading Cinderella, you think of her circumstances as unfortunate because of the demotion. She has gone from being this young lady of privilege to being cast down to being a servant to her family, as opposed to someone who that is their job. And I think that I really appreciated in this one that we are centering on a housemaid, someone who it is their job, who has to wake up at the crack of dawn to deal with families' whims, and could lose their job just because someone is in a foul mood. And I really appreciated the way that this took down that element of Cinderella, and it also has a very fascinating class divide, which I really appreciated. On top of that, we do also have a romance, because in this one we do have Effie, who is a housemaid, and she happens to encounter the youngest brother of the lord of the house that she works in, and she kind of falls in love with him. So then she takes up a fae on his offer to help her, because he is trying his best to redeem himself in the eyes of people. He wants to be a good person, so he wants to help those who need it and take down those who abuse their power. And he has decided that he is going to do this by helping Effie. Then he becomes the most chaotic fairy godmother you have ever heard of, and if he doesn't manage to mangle it, then maybe she'll just get a chance with this lord. And it's a romance. Again, it's a very wholesome romance. It's a friends to lovers romance in here as well. So cute, and I love it so much. The topic of class is really tackled in these books, and I really like that. And the last one that we have is Long Shadow. Long Shadow is actually following the adoptive daughter of Dora from the first book, and in it we are following Abigail, who is done with trying to fit into high society, especially given the parents that she has. She really doesn't want to try and fit in, so she's done with them coming to all of these balls. However, she needs to, because some of the girls who have been attended have mysteriously begun dying. So when the ghost of one of the girls who used to pick on her at these balls happens to need assistance, both crossing over, but they can also use her assistance to discover who is doing it to these girls. With the assistance of Mercy, who is a street rat and self-taught magician, they set out to try and find out what is happening to these girls, who is harming them, and for what purpose. And it's a very interesting take on death. The discussions around death in this one were very original. I've not really seen it tackled in this light before, especially ghosts, because pretty much ghosts are always tackled as either they're just kind of there, or it's they need to cross over to the other side. And this one tackles the notion of us trying to force ghosts to the other side, and I really liked that. It also tackled the notion of a ghost that is a child in a very interesting way as well. And for the most part, I just think that it was an interesting story to tackle death, all while, again, still tackling class divides, still tackling horrific social norms, etc. So I think that for the most part, really solid series. I flew through them. I had a wonderful time with them. They were just such a lovely headspace to be in, and you felt like you were still pushing boundaries, you were still confronting things. There were still themes, but it was still a cute romance. Like, it wasn't a complete head empty book, but at the same time I didn't need to have all cylinders firing, and I love when a book manages to balance that really well. So yeah, I had a wonderful time reading this trilogy. I think that especially the way it tackles class was handled exceptionally well. The characters in it are just so well brought together, so much fun, so well rounded. They all have their nuances, they all have flaws, they all feel like real people, they all have an agenda, they all have something to push them forward, passions and drives. And then on this backdrop of this city, this horrific class divide that we are observing, it was just done in a wonderful way, and I loved it. I had a wonderful time with it. I would highly recommend you check them out. If you're looking for some fun fantasy romance, if you like the Regency era, if you like having a fairy tale element to them, these were just absolutely splendid. I'm so glad they got picked up by Orbit, because they really do deserve it. And yeah, lovely books, lovely setting, lovely themes. And that is it for this review. So based on my liking of these books, let me know if there are any others that you would recommend I check out. I know that this author has got a Victorian series on the go that is like in the same world, in the sense that it's still got the same fae in it. I know that the vibes are supposed to be quite different. I'll wait until the series is out and then I'll binge those. But until that time, let me know if there are any others that are in a similar vein that you think I might like. But that is all from me for today. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I will hopefully catch you in another one soon. Bye!